Ora diamo il benvenuto a Idar Kirkhorn, che please come here, è amministratore delegato di Vianova Systems, una software house norvegese, pioniere e leader di mercato per la produzione di software di ingegneria civile per la progettazione di infrastrutture di trasporto. Da alcuni anni ha aperto la strada al BIM nella progettazione di infrastrutture. Il tema del suo intervento è The Use of BIM for Highway Design and Construction. But let me please ask you also about Norway, because we know Norway is one of the European countries, even if it's not in the European Union, but it's one of the European countries that has used the BIM much in design and construction. What was the initial factor that pushed for BIM, the fact that is compulsory in public bids, or it growed from the market?
Okay, good question there. Yes, we can divide the answer in two. You have the buildings. They are driven by some organization called Statsbygg. That's the owner of most of the private, the officially owned buildings in Norway, and they have been very offensive and very proactive related to the use of BIM and the use of the IFC standard and everything. So I think they are very close up to UK when it comes to push this as fast as possible. On the infrastructure side, I would say that, well, we have a long tradition of using software for modeling the road and the rail, and also use the data straight out in the field. So this was already in the 90s. But when we are talking about BIM, where all the disciplines are getting into one model, I think it was in 2006 when Skanska won a so-called PPP project, public-private project. Partnership between a contractor and a consultancy company, and also actually Vianova Systems behind the consultancy company for improving the software. So there the contractor told the consultancy company, we are building the road in 3D, not in 2D. So the data has to be in 3D, not in 2D. And of course the road model has always been, but not all the other disciplines. The cabling and the water and sewer, a lot of things, the structures, the bridges were in 2D drawings at that time, but all this has now changed from 2006. So this is what I'm going to talk a little bit more about. Should I just start? Okay. So a little bit about Vianova Systems, not much. So then BIM for infrastructure in Norway with some example projects. So you can see by image how it looks. A little bit about the current methodology and the experiences we have seen there. We have also even done some investigation in the savings. How much money are you saving using this methodology? And some advices, at least the advices we use in the Nordics based on the experience we have, if they can apply also to Italy. And maybe some trends. What will change the coming years as we see it. In 15 minutes you cannot cover everything, so you have to pick. But okay, Vianova Systems, who we are. We are delivering software for infrastructure and civil engineering, and we have been doing so since 1988. We have a headquarter just west of Oslo. We are represented in basically all the Nordic countries, but also with Harpachias. We are also in Italy now, and we also have a company in Belgium, Holland, and some development in Vietnam and Thailand. And the last 2-3 years we have launched a new platform for BIM for infrastructure, where we have model-based collaboration. Well, you can maybe look at it as a kind of a level 3 solution, as at least a start of it, where you can have everything in one solution or one platform. Okay. So Vianova, we are delivering two products, NoPoint DCM, Quadri DCM. NoPoint is for design, Quadri DCM is for model-based collaboration in a private cloud. DCM stands for design, construction, and maintenance. So we try to cover or think about supporting the whole life cycle. Not necessarily deliver all the software, but always think that our software or the work that is done by our software should fit into a life cycle perspective. So I already answered this a little bit. The Nordics, we have had a long tradition with using 3D modeling for the road and rail, and we have a long tradition for using the data straight out to the contractor, so the contractor didn't have to redo the data. They can use it directly. But as I told you already, in 2006, we started to use this full holistical approach to detect design errors, clash detections, and remove them from the design. Because the contractor said there are far too many issues with the design. We are experienced too many problems out there based on objects clashing that are both objects that have been designed. So clearly there is a problem with the design. Okay, and the Norwegian Public Roads Administration, NPRA, they were quite offensive when they, in 2012, December, launched a modeling specification for how to deliver models for both modeling the existing situation but also the new situation. The same, 1 month later, the railway authorities did the same with this. So these two books are specifications of how to deliver models, not only drawings anymore. And they were, at first, they were something you could do if you wanted to do it. Now they are becoming more something you have to do. So what does BIM for infrastructure mean in practical life? And I know that many of you are dealing with buildings. Maybe it's very similar, but there are some differences. For example, we care so much more maybe about the existing environment because we are putting the road and the rail into an existing situation where we are, have interfaces with a lot of information related to that. But we do discipline models also like in the building industry. You have for road and you have water and sewer and these different disciplines. But we put them together in one model. One thing we have been working a lot with in Vianova is to make models that are usable for the contractor. They should not be nice looking only, they should not be clash-free, but they should be ready to use directly. I can give you one example. If you have a manhole, you know, a manhole for water and sewer, there is a manhole and it can be in full 3D and it's perfectly placed. But the contractor cannot use solid objects normally directly. So what we do is that we add the points and the lines directly in the design software so that the contractor can turn off the solid information and use those points and lines straight out of the model. As an example of something that you would maybe not think about. But here you shouldn't think as a designer, you should think as a contractor when you are putting up the model. Yes, I will come back to some more of this, so I will not go into all the details. I don't have time for that, I think. This is one of the latest models or projects that are now built. It's both road and rail altogether. 1 billion euro is the contract. It was actually 3 contracts, 21 kilometer of 4-lane road and 70 kilometer of double track. And if you go down under, you see all the elements that should be there, and they are designed clash-free and ready to be built together with the contractor. Same project. Here you see the railway. Same project. Here you see clashes found. They find a lot of clashes. So and they fix them. And they have meetings in this project, and normally they have meetings every 14 days where they meet with the projector and see the model, and they go through the project and find the clashes, and they go through the clashes found in the last meeting, and here they go around and around, and to make something that the contractors have said, and this has been for many projects, they couldn't find defects in the model that are related to the design itself. Of course, they find problems related to existing situation where you have problems coming up from the ground. But design to the design objects, very little defects. But what happens is sometimes that the contractor built different than the design. So then sometimes they have to redo some other design to accommodate that. This is an example of how detailed it is. This is the cabling inside of a station, metro station. And all the cables are modeled in 3D into the concrete objects and everything, so that you can really be sure that this is buildable. You shouldn't get any surprises out there. Same station and with an overview. This is in Oslo, the center of Oslo, completely new street that has been designed and are now built for the most. Same here, you have a lot of objects underneath the ground, and as Skanska said, they have never received a model that had this level of detail. As the contractor said, before we wanted to have 3D models, now we get them, and now the problem is us. We have to handle all these 3D models. Another project, again the same there. So this is how it's looking, BIM for infrastructure. And it's not only road infrastructure. When you have a road, it's also all the other infrastructure that goes with the road. So a little bit about the process, a little bit simplified to get into the framework of 15 minutes. How much do I have?
Well, as you are the only foreign host, I can give you 5 minutes more.
Oh, fantastic. Coming all the way from Norway, thank you. Step 0, the initial phase. Use time together early, the designer and the contractor. We never see a good BIM project where you do not have good communication between the designer and the contractor. That doesn't happen because the process is so new to everyone, and it's so, you have to handle it day by day, and if you don't have the communication, forget about BIM. And you have to educate the people, the contractors and the people that are going to do the stakeout and everything. You are using different software. You have to be sure that the data coming from the design software is going well into the contractor's software, and they have so-called geomatics meetings where they meet and discuss, for example, a tunnel portal going from one software to the other, and they lost some and they've had some problem, and they had to have a meeting to fix those problems. Communication all the way. And then they have a model repository. It can be a web hotel, as we call it. That means a file hotel. It can be Vault, or it can be project-wise, or it can be some kind of that. But you also now get what we call the BIM server, which is something that we have in Vianova, a database where all the data is in one single model. And they handle this process of updating this repository. And they have routines for that. That is very important. And then they are using this collaboration model, as we have been calling it in Norway. It's a model where you collaborate. You collaborate around this model. And everyone should use it actively. This is a way of understanding the project. And they are using what they call the topics or viewpoints. Topics is the name from Building Smart. Some software use viewpoints or model comments, or at least they are digitizing the communication around the model, and the communication is following the model. And this is what they do every meeting. They go through this list of issues stored as model comments or topics. And they're using various techniques because of having this, because these are always large models, they are using various techniques to handle the size of it and to reduce the amount of information on the screen. Can vary from software to software. And then the fun comes where you should be able to take stakeout from the model, as I already mentioned. And the data has to be understood from the contractor's point of view, and it should be possible to use it straight away, directly, with no manual work from the contractor's side. This is where we feel that some people are losing that very important point. And how to do this? Well, communication between the designer and the contractor. And then, when you have built something, the next is that they also measure in what has been built. For example, let's think about a cable. And they measure it in, and they bring it back to the collaboration model. And why do they do that? Yes, because if it has not been built quite as it should, they can maybe see there will be a clash with something coming in the next phase. So then the contractor again can take action either to fix what was built because it was actually wrong, or actually to do a redesign because maybe that is cheaper. But to have that information into the collaboration model is also crucial. And I hope I don't speak too fast English, but I can see that everyone is understanding, so that's good. And of course, we are now coming into a process where you have a really high quality as-built model, which should have a high value both for the project owner and for the society. So what we do in Norway, I haven't a slide for that, but we are bringing this data into the National Road Data Bank and National Railway Data Bank, and we have a process for that. It's not so in Norway that the National Road Data Bank has the level of detailing as a BIM model, even though we would like it to have. But we try to use the as-built model directly as much as possible to store back to the National Road Data Bank. So when the road is opened, the road network, the new road network is already there, so that the cars can drive safely along with TomTom. Savings. Now I think I'm not much more here now. Savings. We found together with the national road authorities a saving or a reduction in cost of additional orders. A reduction from an average of 19% of all contracts for national road authorities. That was the average for all the contracts. 19% on top of the original contract. But the contracts with using BIM for infrastructure or 3D modeling, they came to a level of 7.5%. So a substantial reduction in cost, extra costs. So the road authorities were quite happy with this. Even though it's quite a limited investigation, it's a very clear result. It was no doubt that the methodology gave savings to the road authorities. And we have an approximate number of 1 billion euro, no, sorry, 1.5 billion euros saved for the nation every year because of this. But that was only one dimension measured. Okay, some short advices as we see it. Get the process right. It's more about process than software. It's more about communication across companies, across organizations, and also between disciplines. So you have to remove the silo thinking. You have to work in the same room. Train people and organization in making use of 3D. We actually state 3D here and not BIM because there are so many in the infrastructure world that are not only using 2D, they are using schematics. They are not even in 2D correctly. So they have to jump from schematical drawing of cablings, for example, to a full 3D model of the cablings. And that's quite a lot of a jump. And they have more than enough to think about how to do that than thinking about how can we utilize BIM in the next steps. So we say do not over-focus the next steps of BIM talk, like automatical cost estimation and similar fantastic functionality. I'm sure it will be fantastic, but it would be very nice if we could bring the whole community to a level where everyone is saving a lot of money to the society because of using 3D and 3D that are usable for the contractors. And we also say do not over-focus on software, even being a software company, and hardware and all that stuff. But of course, a good tool is sometimes half the job. So don't forget it either. So what we think will happen the next 1, 2, 3 years, as for building, you have a fantastic format in IFC. We don't have that for infrastructure. So we need to focus a lot more on open standards, the use of open standards in infrastructure. So we have 2 initiatives there. ISO 19100 series, coming from the GIS world, Open Geospatial Consortium, and ISO 16739, which is IFC. And VIANOVA are contributing to both of these organizations. And we think both of them are needed for outdoor infrastructure. And we think that some of the customers will move to the first version of BIM Level 3 these coming years. I saw you mentioned it in your presentation. Using the single database approach will have some fantastic possibilities when you have everything in one place, or at least connected into one place. But most of all, we hope that we can get all on board the BIM train so that everyone is delivering a lot better design data and a lot better projects using these methodologies. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.